On the evening of December 16, 1877, the 53-year-old Anton Bruckner nervously mounted the podium in the Great Hall of the Vienna Musikverein to lead the Vienna Philharmonic in the premiere of his Third Symphony. The path he'd traveled to reach this moment was unusual. Born in the Upper Austrian village of Ansfelden in 1824, Bruckner had shown an interest in organ playing and composition from an early age. His passion for music was further developed when, at the age of 13, he was sent to study and live at the nearby Augustinian monastery of St. Florian. His fascination with the abbey's great organ and the pietistic devotion to ritual and form he derived from monastic life would deeply inform his music and his following career. Well into his 30s, Bruckner had confined himself to eking out a living as a schoolteacher and organist and composing sacred works. But in the 1860s, his first encounters with the music of Wagner had changed his life. By the time Bruckner moved to Vienna in 1868, he was writing massive symphonies and developing the unique synthesis of sacred formality and Wagnerian sensuousness that would characterize his mature style. Although Bruckner, the organ virtuoso, found praise in the Austrian capital, his music had been dismissed as odd and incoherent. As someone whose crippling personal insecurities caused him to render his symphonies in an almost comic multiplicity of versions, Bruckner was ill-equipped for the rough and tumble of Viennese musical politics. Now, after composing 5 symphonies, he stood before what was then likely the world's greatest orchestra to lead the premiere of his third, which he dedicated to Wagner. He had many reasons to feel anxious. Musically conservative Vienna was the center of anti-Wagnerian sentiment, and the orchestra's attitude of non-cooperation was intensified by Bruckner's incompetent conducting. Shortly after the performance began, audience members started to hiss. The applause between movements that was customary during that era was replaced by the sounds of feet scampering towards the exits. By the end, only a devoted group of no more than 25 remained, among them the 17-year-old Gustav Mahler, a student of Bruckner's. As a final insult, the orchestra left the stage before the concluding smattering of applause was over, leaving Bruckner alone on the rostrum. Predictably, the newspaper reviews were savage, with Bruckner's music being described variously as bizarre, motley, and as a formless patchwork. Bruckner's humiliation was so complete that he stopped composing for almost a year, and in this regard, his Sixth Symphony represents an act of personal renewal, a manifestation of his stubborn commitment to ultimately write music as he wished, in spite of all his constitutional uncertainty. The composer Hans Pfitzner once rather ungenerously said that Bruckner composed the same symphony 9 times, but it's more accurate to say that the consistency of his output reflected a continuing effort to refine and to deepen his symphonic concept. The Sixth Symphony includes all the characteristic elements of Bruckner's style, such as a traditional 4-movement layout that includes a weighty first movement, a profound, often sublime slow movement, an Olympian scherzo with a contrasting trio that evokes the comforts of Austrian country life, and a finale that returns to the proposition raised in the first movement by restating its materials and remolding them to bring the symphony to a satisfying conclusion. There's the blending of Wagnerian harmonies and Baroque counterpoint, the use of rhetorical pauses for dramatic effect, the emphasis on strings and brass as instrumental choirs, the forceful contrasts of volume and timbre, the extended modulating sequences, the towering statements in unison, the hymns and chant-derived melodies, and a pervasive sense of religious mystery and exaltation. The way Bruckner combined all of these elements in his Sixth Symphony set the stage for his final 3, in which he reached his full maturity as a symphonic composer. It is a tribute to the persistence of the creative spirit all great composers seem to share, an intrinsic sense of resolution that allows each of them to overcome the obstacles in their path as they seek to fully express their artistic vision.